The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hey, so yesterday, switching it up a little bit. You know what, man? Every time I try to get on like a set schedule with something, it just gets interrupted. But anyway, if you did not get a chance yesterday, I did release the episode that, I wanted to release last week, but I think it's better now having released it yesterday, especially for those of you that listened to the episode from Thursday with Rabbi Moshe Zeldman. So yesterday's episode was with Rich Siegel. He is the Jewish American activist who lives in Teaneck, New Jersey, who went viral with his speech at the Teaneck Town Hall meeting where he was condemning these Israeli settlements and all that. I talked about it, maybe last week. And anyway, finally got the episode edited. Man, I got a lot of feedback yesterday, which was amazing. I mean, mostly good. Some, didn't necessarily care for it, but, that's totally cool, actually. Like, I love that. I really welcome when you don't care for something. And quite frankly, whether it's one of my takes or, if I bring a guest on and let's say you don't agree with that guest, that's totally fine. I hope that more than anything, with anyone listening, you feel comfortable enough to, again, share your truth with me, and whether that's something that, you want me to address on a future episode or just, quite frankly, something between you and I. I love that. I seriously love that. And so yesterday's episode with Rich, if you didn't get a chance to listen, again, man, I think this stuff is all worth taking in. And it was an incredibly raw, emotional episode with him because he's an incredibly raw, emotional guy. He has skin in this game. He grew up Jewish. He loves Judaism. He loves his religion, but he just feels there truly is a distinction between this concept of Zionism and Judaism. And so again, I'm going to look to ideally bring more people that really kind of are on both sides of that, because I think it is absolutely, something that is at play right now. For those of you that don't know, the United States House of Representatives, and this is pretty crazy because it was because of the student protest movement, but the House passed legislation that basically broadened the definition of anti-Semitism. And, think about it. This is kind of the first time something like this has ever been done where fundamentally you are limiting freedom of speech. Now, again, whether you agree or disagree with what somebody wants to talk about, whether that's for vaccines, against vaccines, January 6th was a false flag setup. No, January 6th was the most brutal and violent attack on our democracy. I mean, none of these have gotten to be legislation. So the fact that, this bill is legislation, and if it's passed by the Senate, then the bill would broaden the legal definition of anti-Semitism to include, and I'm quoting here, targeting of the state of Israel conceived as a Jewish collectivity. Critics say the move would have a chilling effect on free speech throughout college campuses as well as everywhere else. And then this is interesting. Here's Representative Jerry Nadler, who's also Jewish, Democrat from New York. He said, "Speech that is critical of Israel alone does not constitute unlawful discrimination. By encompassing purely political speech about Israel into Title IV's ambit, the bill sweeps too broadly, and this literally is the first time in the history of the United States that we are trying to limit freedom of speech and it is in regard to another country, not even our own." And again, Jerry Nadler's Jewish. I mean, he's like big time Jewish guy. So I find this stuff interesting, man, and there definitely is a division among partisan lines. I've said this before, and I'm going to flesh this out even more, but practically the entire Republican Party is on board with this. They're on board with everything in relation to Israel. The entire Republican Party, besides again Rand Paul and Thomas Massey. And I think, a few weeks or last week I played you the clip, one of the clips of Thomas Massey on the Tucker Carlson show. By the way, this is really sad, and I'm just going to share it because I really don't know much about it, but man, it's pretty interesting timing. So that interview Thomas Massey did on Tucker Carlson, I think I referenced it a couple times. It was really good. It was a very interesting interview, totally worth listening to. And if you haven't listened to it yet, just go to Tucker Carlson's podcast and find it. Anyway, on either Friday or Saturday, Massey announced that his wife died. So I guess his wife passed away last week, Rhonda Massey. And it basically, all that's been covered is Congressman Thomas Massey announces sudden death of wife Rhonda. So I haven't really been able to find out much of anything, but, condolences to him and his family. I will say in the Tucker Carlson interview, which was a week prior, basically, there was no mention of any type of sickness or illness with his wife. And he talked about his wife quite a bit during the episode. Now, again, I have no idea, but, it's not like he said, oh, Rhonda, how's Rhonda doing? Oh, she's doing better. She seems to be getting better. Nothing like that. So anyway, that definitely seems like there was a sudden death that took place in regards to Rhonda Massey. So deepest condolences to the Massey family there. All right. Anyway, again, yesterday's episode with Rich, it's worth listening to. And if you didn't listen to the episode with Rabbi Moshe Zeldman, that one is awesome actually too, because again, here's a rabbi, kind of lifting up the curtain and helping us understand what that is all about. So, you definitely will hear they're not really talking about the same thing, but again, I think they're both incredibly interesting, and I would really encourage you to listen to Rabbi Zeldman's episode and then listen to Rich Siegel's episode as well. And I'm really getting into these guest interviews. I hope you guys are enjoying them, and I hope they're bringing a whole nother element to it. And so, I'm going to try and release these on Friday, but you know what? Sometimes they'll probably get interspersed throughout the week. So anyway, just know that. All right, I did want to talk a few things in regards to, all the news about the debate, and I kind of want to provide another perspective to that trust me, I read through so many things. I watched a gajillion clips about the debate and how terrible it was overall, but then especially when it comes to Biden and his health and all that. And, I have to say kind of a little, I don't want to say red flag, but something popped into my mind. And then I heard this from someone on Instagram. So give this a listen, and then I'm going to elaborate.
Behind Biden, there is a team, writers, campaign advisors, investors. The idea that they didn't know what they were doing by showing Biden's mental decline on national television is insane. Of course they knew, and they did it anyway.
All right, let me cut it there for a second. Here's what I came to the conclusion of. Again, we've all seen all the videos of Biden, even before the debate. Forget the debate for a second. Now, the debate in and of itself was just, it was pretty insane. And I've said this before. I genuinely feel bad for the guy. I feel like it's elderly abuse, and I'm not even kidding. And it makes me a little bit disgusted the way his family is about it. His wife, there was another clip that circulated where she was like, "You did great, Joe. You answered all the questions. And what did Donald Trump do? like she was talking to him like an infant, like absolutely an infant. And again, Biden, the look and the mannerisms and all that, it just absolutely, it's not healthy and it's not good the way he looked. So anyway, here was my slight epiphany that kind of was, I guess, brought to the surface when I listened to this guy's clip. And I'm going to play the rest of it for you because, man, he gets a little more than I do. But the epiphany was that if you're around President Biden, as all these people are on a daily basis, you know all this. His not appearance, but his performance at the debate, that's not a surprise to anybody who is around him, okay? And there's a ton of people around him. So everybody that's around him, I guarantee you, I'm talking like the people that are, kind of calling the shots, for lack of a better way of saying it. His performance was not a surprise. I'm sure they knew that was what was going to happen. Now, the weird thing is the debate this year is much further up. Normally, these debates start in September. So they did this one in late June. I think that was done on purpose. I think it was like, okay, let's do a debate. Let's basically, I don't even think it was to see how he does, because I think they knew how he was going to do. He was going to do terrible. And I don't know, maybe this was to begin the groundswell of Democrats wanting him to, step down or something. So my point is, what is my point? My point is, I don't think any of this was unplanned. I really don't. I think this is all part of, whatever structure or plan they're wanting to implement. Now, again, I don't know what that is exactly. I don't even know. I read some things online that in several states, they can't replace Biden on the ballot unless he dies or they invoke the 25th Amendment. So, the concept of swapping out Gavin Newsom for him or Hillary or Michelle Obama or Kamala herself or whomever, I'll have to look at the legalities of election procedure on that. But I do know from the things I've said is obviously if it's possible if he passes away, and then I guess the 25th Amendment, which I think I remember that during the Trump stuff. I'll look that up and I'll get a clear definition of that as well. But anyway, my point is the performance at the debate, that was not a surprise to anyone unless you are not paying attention to Biden over the past several years, quite frankly. But it definitely was not a surprise to the folks that are managing this process and this campaign. All right, listen to what the rest of this guy says. Now, this is kind of hardcore, the stuff he says, but it's worth listening to.
Because now that Biden has served this purpose of destroying the country and bringing us closer to World War III, they have their fall guy. Now they can introduce their new puppet. It will either be Newsom, Michelle, or Hillary.
All right, again, he talked about some of the things I've talked about in terms of the replacement, but I don't really know where exactly in the process their ability to replace him is right now, again, barring something unfortunate. All right, now give a listen to this part.
But regardless of who wins, Republicans or Democrats, it is still the uni party. Trump may be a better choice than all of them, but the system can still win from a Trump presidency because they can divide the nation further with their propaganda machine and they can create chaos. And from chaos comes their solution that always means more power at the top and less for the people. So my conclusion is this. If Trump wins, let's not give in to the division that is guaranteed to be manufactured by the media. Let's unite blue, red, and independent, ignore the media, and live a happy life.
That's this guy named Lennie Moreno. He's an entrepreneur on Instagram. He has like 200,000 followers. Pretty interesting content. Again, let's just think of this thing from all directions and all sides. again, I saw so many clips about the debate, and it really reinforced everything I talked about in the episode on Friday. And again, that is that Trump didn't answer any of the questions, not any, but a lot of the questions. He literally did not answer them. He absolutely would address the previous topic, but then through the course of his 1-minute rebuttals, he never gave a response to many of the questions. I mean, seriously, he really didn't. And if you're a Trump supporter, you shouldn't be happy about that. Like, this is where I feel like, gosh, I really just wish people could put their emotions aside and rise above. And again, if you're a Trump supporter, you should be like, hey, you know what? Listen, I do support you, but what is your answer to child care issues? What is your answer to this? What is your answer to that? The spinning process. Again, you should demand more of him. You really should. You should demand more of him. And then for those that support Biden, at this point, you should be demanding something better. Again, do you genuinely think after watching President Biden and his health that this is the person that should be the leader of the free world and leading our country? I mean, honestly, I think the people that continue to say that, they're literally only saying it because they hate Trump so much. Trump derangement syndrome is absolutely a real thing. They hate Trump so much, for whatever their reason is, that they just don't care. I had one friend, I love this guy, he's hilarious. We have such a back and forth on so many things. But I said, seriously, come on, man. Who do you think they're going to replace Biden with? He wrote me back, he goes, it could be a broomstick and I'll vote for it, which I thought was hilarious. But that's so true. That's so true. Again, but even for you guys, you should be demanding more from your party and your candidate. And again, honestly, I mean, I've gotten to a point with President Biden where I don't really like to make fun of him anymore. I don't. And I don't think I've ever really made fun of him, but I don't like to criticize his health because, again, he's an older gentleman now. And as crazy as this sounds, and God, I don't even like putting my dad in this category with President Biden, but, in the last 6 months of, our dad's life, I noticed a decline in him. I noticed a decline. He was still doing his Zumba classes, which was amazing. But I did notice a decline in him. I noticed a cognitive decline. I noticed a slowing down of, processing thoughts and things. I noticed kind of that confused look that President Biden shows a lot. And again, gosh, I hope he's not mad. I hope he's not mad. I'm kind of comparing him to President Biden, but this is real talk. This is absolutely real talk. And my dad was 84. Our dad was 84 when he passed away. And again, I noticed a decline in him. I noticed a decline in his ability to move the way he moved. Again, what was amazing was he was literally still taking these Zumba classes, which was so cool. But again, getting up off the couch when we would go for a drive, getting out of the car, all of those processes were affected. They absolutely were. They were affected to where I noticed it. It was noticeable to me, the decline from even a year prior or 2 years prior. And I see that same decline with President Biden. I really do. Like, maybe because the time spent with my dad in that last 6 months, it was so apparent to me. Maybe have a keener observation toward what I see from President Biden, but I see it, and there are absolute similarities. And I think President Biden is 82 right now. So anyway, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I'm trying to, we've got so many scenarios on the table. I will say the other thing about Gavin Newsom is he is the one person that is unbelievably vocal about, no, it's President Biden. It's absolutely, he's amazing. And again, I think that is part of the script. It is, because no sane, rational person right now, honestly, I really mean this, no sane, rational person, including all of you Biden supporters, you cannot say that this man is fit to serve another 4 years. You just can't. You might say, oh, who cares? Let's just beat Trump and then we'll figure it out. Fine. That's fine if that's your opinion. But again, you cannot say that he is up to the task of being the commander in chief again. I mean, there's an argument that he wasn't up for it the first time, but that's neither here nor there. Moving forward again, I'd almost rather it just be a situation where they're like, okay, you know what? He's not the guy. He's not up for it. It's going to be Gavin Newsom. Let's see Gavin Newsom versus Trump. I mean, that's a fair fight, at least. That's a fair fight, I'd almost rather that just be established and now we know. And okay, let's let the chips fall where they may in terms of that. The last thing I will say about President Trump, again, I do have to criticize his preparation for these things. That should have been easy work at that debate. Everything should be easy work right now for him. That's like a boxing analogy, by the way. They talk about, like, fighters would be like, that's easy work. That's easy work. I love that actually. Anyway, this all should be easy work for Trump, but he doesn't prepare. His team doesn't prepare him. He should have hit the ball out of the park on every single question in that debate if he was properly prepared. And if he was, and if he actually answered all the questions, he wouldn't be under the scrutiny. Now, again, some of this I think is nonsense. It's part of the narrative. But, again, he's being attacked as, 37 lies during the debate and all that. And I didn't even take the time to go one by one. But I'm sure there were, actually, I won't say there were lies because I just haven't researched what he said enough. But I will say, and I stick to this, he didn't answer a lot of the questions. He just didn't. He really just didn't. And to me, again, if I was, super Trump supporter, team Trump, I would be like, dude, come on. You got to answer the questions. Listen, I love you, but you need to answer the questions. So, those of you that are his supporters, I think you should make him be better about the actual questions, because ironically, it's kind of what you criticize Biden for. So I think you should hold your guy up to those same standards. All right. That is it for today, man. I'm at like 22 minutes. Wow. Kind of a little recap episode of the past 3. But again, if you didn't get a chance to listen to yesterday's with Rich Siegel, I think you really should. The other episode on Thursday with Rabbi Moshe Zeldman, really a lot of learning there. I got a lot of good stuff coming up. We might even end up doing another guest interview this week. Like I said, at this point, I'm kind of fluid in the launch schedule, so don't be surprised if it's a random Wednesday or Thursday and you go to listen and it's a guest interview. But I will try to also release things on Fridays. That way, if it's a longer episode, you have the weekend to listen to it. All right, that's it. Call a spade a spade. Ugh. Call a spade a spade. Just do that. All right. Talk to you soon.
The ending was terrific.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.